Doing whatever it takes for our students, this is Education Forum, the podcast. I'm Allison Sillis, and in today's episode, we have Joe Royakers, who is the bargaining unit president from the University of Guelph. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the university sector and what the experience is like for our members that are working in the post-secondary education sector. Can you tell me a little bit about what TERA is and who your members are?
TERA was formed in 2012, about 15 years ago, representing technical, administrative, research, and agricultural employees at the University of Guelph, Ridgetown campus, and multiple research station sites.
So can you tell me a little bit about your history with the University of Guelph and your role and as a member?
Yeah, I started in October 2001 as a high school co-op student at the Arkell Swine Research Center, located about 5 minutes south of Guelph. I got hired on right after high school, working with the pigs there and the employees there. Just from an agricultural background, found that I had a real passion for working with livestock and enjoyed it. I didn't get involved with the union until about 5 years in. I was unfortunately missed up for an opportunity to advance my career at one of the other research facilities. And on the advice of a more senior employee there, they recommended I go and talk to upper administration, and that got me engaged through the process, including alternate dispute resolution mechanisms within the university.
That's great. Not that it happened, but that it was, something that made you get involved, right? And sometimes that's what it takes, right?
It was certainly eye-opening. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
From a boy working in a barn to understanding university policies and procedures and how to start a process and see the process through. It really was an eye-opening experience.
So how many members do you have in TERA? And can you tell me a little bit about like their roles and their job classes?
Yeah, OSSTF TERA represents about 250 members at the University of Guelph. Our administrative team works predominantly through the main campus, supporting deans, directors, chairs, and department heads. So really supporting departments on the ground. At Ridgetown campus, we have members all the way through. It's like an ecosystem there. So we're running security, so student health and safety. We do have food workers there, hospitality workers, housekeeping, maintenance staff. And then at the research facilities, we have agricultural assistants, research technicians, crop technicians. So a vast variety of jobs. I would say about 120 different job classes for the 250 members that are there.
Yeah. So easy to say that your members are keeping the university running.
Our members are certainly keeping the research stations running and the Ridgetown campus running, and I would say yes, in large part, when we're supporting those deans and directors and the department heads, yes, we are making sure that all those programs are running without flaws.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do these roles intersect with the student experience and like the other functions of the university?
I would say that our members are doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So while faculty work directly with students, the students wouldn't see our members working to support those programs, working within the labs to make sure that they're safe work environments. There might be a little bit of help supporting the students in those labs, but even out at the research facilities where we are maintaining a livestock herd, the students are there to learn and engage with their professor, not to worry about the student or the animal care issues. So I would say for the most part, there's very little interaction that's happening between students and our staff, but a lot of our work is done behind the scenes to keep things running so that students have a positive experience.
Absolutely, for sure. What would you say is the most rewarding part about being a TERA University of Guelph member for your members?
I think for our membership, it's really the people. It's a group of people coming together in the interest of making their programs successful, ensuring that the students are getting the supports that they need and that they're ultimately successful within the workplace as well.
What is the best experience that you've had working at the University of Guelph or like that your members have had?
For me personally, one of my most favorite experiences was when I was a little younger, helping the students there do their own research projects and being able to see that all the way through from start to finish, and then watching that student defend their thesis and then achieve their master's or their PhD has always been a really exciting piece because you were a large part of contributing to
Yeah.
their success. And so watching the students succeed through the program is always exhilarating, not to mention the people that you get to meet from all parts of the world.
Next, I want to talk a little bit about your members and if you think that the number of your members have kept pace with what's needed for the role that they do.
Unfortunately, not. This is one of the things that we've struggled with. We've lost a lot of positions due to attrition or retirements, and those positions haven't been filled back. On average, we're about 5 regular full-time positions lost per year, which is a real challenge for our group,
Hmm.
and it's really difficult to ensure that the students are achieving those successes that we like to see and
Yeah.
measure by.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really tough. It's hard, and then workload is distributed amongst other members, which makes the workplace a little bit more challenging to navigate.
Yep.
And we are noticing a larger amount of precarious work, part-time casual work that's coming in, and starting to really just add to some of the challenges that are happening in the workplace.
Yep, absolutely. And it's one of those things too when you are having an increased workload, it's following you home still. Like it changes how you can live the rest of your life, especially if you're more tired and all of those things as well.
It adds a lot of stress and anxiety to
Mhm.
the job. It also, I think, adds to a little bit of the challenges with working with colleagues when you're dealing with those external pressures that really we don't have any ability
Mhm.
to adjust or amend or change.
And so, keeping that in mind, how do you think that this has changed for your members throughout the years? Was it, you would say, like you said, every about five jobs per year for 5 members per year that you're seeing? So was it always like this, or was there a point in time where it felt like staffing was at appropriate levels?
I think it's always been like that. University budgets are always, I would say, strained.
Hmm.
I think since 2018 in this government, it's been more strained. There were several challenges pre-COVID, and then COVID just introduced a
Yeah.
whole pile of new challenges that we've had to try and navigate. I think for our members, it's the added workload and the added pressure and the legislative requirements, the administrative requirements that we need for the roles to fulfill them. It certainly makes things a little more challenging for the students and to see that student success.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about government priorities right now, to play off of some of the things we talked about already. And so, how do you feel the government is prioritizing the work of Tara University Guelph members, or not prioritizing them?
Yeah, I think that support staff are often generally invisible in those conversations. Like in the university world, when we're supporting students, we're the ones in the background doing the work. I know that governments spend a lot of time talking about policies and funding and how we're funded, but I think a lot of the questions around the transparency, where does that funding go? Where do those dollars go? How are they spent? And I think support staff are generally left out of those conversations.
How familiar do you think the minister is with the work of the Tara members?
I think the minister is aware that we're there. I don't know if there's an awareness of how much we do to ensure that the university functions at the level that we expect the university to function at.
How would you characterize the Ford government's actions regarding the universities since being elected in 2018?
I think in 2018 there were two very significant announcements that were made: the tuition cut of 10% and then the freezing of tuition, which really handcuffed the university's ability to operate. I think when COVID happened in 2020, 2021, that just made our financial constraints worse. And realistically, up until recently, we've been navigating those budgets on a 2018 dollar, which is really difficult to grow when you're bringing more students into programs, and we're dealing with less workers because a lot of members are retiring. And so the workload is getting harder. The student needs are, I would say, greater,
Yep.
and the do more with less mentality is a real struggle that a lot of our members are trying to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sometimes can feel near impossible when you're in those situations, right?
I think members really they go to work thinking the positive pieces,
Hmm.
and I would say they're very exhausted at the end of the day when they're done, just simply because of the work and
Yeah.
and the magnitude of work that we are navigating.
Yeah, but they're obviously in it for the right reasons and wanting to make those positive experiences for the students at the University of Guelph, right?
Yeah, like I said, no, everybody wants to see their program succeed. Everybody wants to see the students succeed. There's nothing better than having a grad student come back and go through with their own kids and show them where they came
Yeah.
from, what courses they took, and how they contributed to the community of the university.
So, do you think that this sentiment is shared across all of your members?
I think the sentiment is shared across not just my membership, but the other universities that OSSTF represents. I think a lot of members are seeing executive salaries increase and grow, which raises questions about the transparency of where the dollars are spent. And then there's that breach of trust or a trust issue that members are somewhat feeling when we have universities like Brock and Algoma that are currently navigating layoffs,
Yeah.
and we are seeing those salaries increase.
Yeah. The math isn't mathing, is it?
I think members would like to
Yeah.
understand where the dollars are being spent and why they're being spent to inflate those salaries instead of where the members feel that it's needed, which is student supports and support staff on the ground for
Yeah.
those students.
So I want to talk a little bit about like your members' priorities coming out of this. And so going into bargaining, like how do you feel, or what do you think are the primary concerns for your members right now?
I think for us, job security is
Mhm.
is one of the bigger things that a lot of our members are looking at. Our our group is very unique in that we have a lot of members that are going to look at retiring in the next 3 to 5 years and ensuring that those positions are backfilled with regular full-time roles so that the next generation can go through a career at the University of Guelph like their predecessors have. I think that is one of the top priorities. We still haven't recovered from the Bill 124 challenges that we encountered at the bargaining table. So I think growth in wages and benefits is something that we would like to see addressed. And then workload, members' workload, losing those regular full-time roles and having that work redistributed
Yeah.
amongst other members has created a significant workload problem, which then moves to, I would say, mental health
Yeah.
challenges and needing extra support just for staff to be able to navigate their
Mhm.
day-to-day stressors.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the pay equity and job evaluation processes that your members are facing that they might be concerned with?
One thing we've noticed at the university is the university is removing unionized positions and creating more middle management roles, which has been a real struggle for our members because when we lose those positions, some of them will end up into what they will call a professional status. So for us, I think it's kind of challenging when we see our work and our job posted at a much higher salary level than what our unionized members would have achieved in the first place. And then hearing the university talk about how those roles are more in high demand really undermines the work that our members feel like we are contributing to the university sector. So those conversations are difficult ones to have. And I don't know if the university really understands when they say things like those are higher caliber roles,
Yeah.
how much it demoralizes some of our members to hear those types of comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when, like you said this whole time, like they're in it for the student experience, right? They're wanting to make sure these programs last and have good quality education and success stories coming out of these programs.
Yeah, I would say our members are very dedicated. Our sick time is, I would say, one of the lowest ones out of a lot of the union groups on campus. And our vacation time doesn't get eaten up the way we would have expected it to through the summer months because we're either winding down with one semester or supporting summer student kids, or we are preparing for the fall semester to come in. So there isn't really much downtime within the university realm.
Yeah, and that's another reason why it's so important to make sure that these jobs are staying within OSSTF members, right?
That's what we keep hoping for, and I hope that maybe some type of funding change or funding model to look at that ratio, the student ratio to support staff ratio, would be helpful.
Absolutely. So, throughout your career, have you seen the unit offer any solutions to some of these issues?
We work in a very collaborative work environment with the university. We have to. The work that
Hmm.
we do is essential, and therefore our ability to strike or walk out is non-existent. And so it is crucial for us to have a collaborative working
Yeah.
relationship with the employer. Our support staff are the ones on the ground that see where the holes are, or where there's extra supports that are needed, or the gaps that are missing. And so it's important for us to be able to not just advocate on behalf of those members, but to be able to speak to upper administration and human resources about the challenges and the daily struggles that our
Yep.
members have, and be able to articulate that concern to them so that we can correct it, ideally before we even get to the bargaining table, so it doesn't slow things down there.
Yep, absolutely. Because when your on the ground members are seeing what is going on, they have the answers, right? They know what would improve what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's always that we have the answers. I think it's that we're there to give suggestions or ideas, and we are really working to make the institution a better place for everybody, not just students, but workers and faculty as well.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about like the member experience to do with this, and maybe some of the things that they've suggested or that they've been through, where they could see where some positive impacts and changes could be happening?
I think a lot of things we see happen on the ground, ideally between a manager and or a supervisor and a member,
Hmm.
where we encourage that dialogue to happen right at the departmental level, so the changes are more immediate. I would say for bigger or more concerning issues, or even health and safety issues, those might get brought up to try and change the way that we look at certain instances. Right now, I know that our health and safety team, with 13 unions on campus, is navigating what we call a new multi-joint health and safety
Hmm.
committee. And the way that it worked wasn't meeting the needs of the students or the staff there. The hope right now is that we get better communication, better understanding, and that we are more collaborative going forward within this multi-joint health and safety
Hmm.
committee. But I think it speaks to seeing something that wasn't working, identifying a pathway that works better, and slowly working to something that we hope will improve everybody's mindset around the university and the work that we do.
It's a solidarity piece as well too when you're coming together to be doing this, right?
It brings a lot of different interests to the table and
Mhm.
allows you to understand where everybody is coming from
Yeah.
and how better to work more collaboratively with everybody. I think for me, just in general, the added burden put on students now with the changes of OSAP have made it very difficult for students to be able to enter the post-secondary
Yeah.
world and be successful through it while focusing on their studies, instead of having to get a second job or worry
Yeah.
about where the money's going and when they need to start paying the money back. So I think we have done an injustice to our students by relying on them to fund post-secondary institutions instead of the publicly funded institutions that I think Ontario should have.
Absolutely. And that's the thing we're hearing from high school students and university, college, and post-secondary students, that they're thinking about either not accepting the offers that they've been given. Some of them are talking about, can I even afford to stay and finish my diploma or my degree? And it's not right. And are your members seeing that as well too? Are they feeling that and just like empathizing with the students and what they're going through right now?
I think our counselors and our financial aid workers are
Mhm.
seeing that a lot. They're the ones dealing with it on the front
Yeah.
lines and trying to support the students and as best we can. Unfortunately, like I said, the changes don't really help solve the problem or the financial crisis that post-secondary worlds are dealing with right now. It just puts the burden on the student to try and fund it, which makes it difficult for them as well.
Yeah, and we know full well the government can fix this, right? There's solutions that are there that they can be doing to help support post secondary education and funding, and they're choosing not to right now.
No, I think when we look again at where Ontario sits with the per student funding, and we're one of the lowest in the
Mhm.
nation, I think that's the biggest problem that
Yeah.
we need to look at. And then things like the strategic mandate agreement, putting that ratio in there of student to support staff
Hmm.
to ensure that those dollars are being spent for those frontline
Yeah.
workers would be really helpful.
And so, given that OSSTF has launched our underfunded and over it campaign, how are your members over it? What are they feeling right now?
I think our members are tired of living in a world where we are constantly underfunded. Underfunding has created more stress, more anxiety, and our students continue to suffer every day from not having the support staff there
Hmm.
to assist and help them be successful. And so I think our members are just over it, from the announcements in 2018 to the pandemic in 2020, not recovering from the pandemic, not having any added types of funding that the university has received, to I think the loss of staff, the loss of regular full time roles, the do more with less narrative that we continue to hear from upper administration really just highlights the the feeling that our members have when upper administration say do more with less. How much more can we continue to do with how much less?
So I know you touched on this a little bit already when you were talking about the Health and Safety Joint Committee, but how important is campus solidarity right now for the long-term success of the post-secondary education?
I think campus solidarity is more important now than it ever was before. I think everybody, including upper administration within the university, all have similar messaging and interests, where we all see that the university sector itself is underfunded. We are one of the lowest in the nation for funding right now per student capita, and it's a real struggle. So I think if we are all on the same page and all advocating for the same things, I think that's a good place to start. I spoke before about how our local is really confined with how we bargain, and that even a strike with multiple research stations and two separate campuses would be a difficult pathway for us to go. And so the collaboration that we have between other unions and supporting them as they bargain, between faculty associations and the upper administration, those conversations are important to have all year round. They do, I think, make a difference when we get to the table to talk about the real challenges that we encounter. And I think with everybody having this mentality that the funding model really needs to change, we need to do better for the next generation. We need to make sure our students are successful and supported. And right now, we haven't seen any of that from this government.
Is there anything else that you think that we've missed or that you'd want to add today?
I don't think so. I appreciate you taking the time to ask the questions, get engaged with what's happening in the post-secondary world. I think it's very similar to what you're seeing in the K to 12 sector. It's just transitioning into post-secondary life right now, which is a challenge for us.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Joe, for being here with me today and sharing both yours and your members' perspective at the University of Guelph.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
So I'm Allison Sillis, and this is Education Forum, the podcast. So be sure to join our campaign at underfunded.ca. And if you have any suggestions of things that we could be talking about on the podcast, you can email them to podcast@OSSTF.ca. And be sure to subscribe and share. Can't wait to hear from you soon.